What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Let's Talk Games podcast. And today we have a very, very special guest. Here to join us today is the genius behind Thomas Was Alone, Mike Bithell.
Hello. You cut out for a second there, but I think we're all right now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You said I cut off?
Very briefly, but don't worry about it. It's probably my side. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Just in case I cut off live, that is Mike Bithell here, the genius behind Thomas Was Alone. Got him in here. We're going to talk a little bit about Thomas Was Alone, I'm sorry, and a little bit about his upcoming game, Volume. Also, who I have here with me is my right-hand man, E-Rock8150. Please shout yourself out.
Hey folks, this is your boy E-Rock8150, the Don King of Xbox, and thanks for coming back to the fastest growing podcast on YouTube, Let's Talk Games.
Okay, so Mike, man, I've when I got to play Thomas Was Alone for the first time, I didn't know how to feel. I was like, this is so good, and after realizing, but I was like, I'm playing with shapes, but I'm enjoying it. I was like, I don't know what you did to make something so sophisticated in a game. So one of my questions for you is, what was one of your favorite games growing up?
Oh man, that's a big question. I think the ones that I'm healthiest stuff. So things like Deus Ex was massive for me. I was late to my prom because of Half-Life, which I missed the limousine that was driving me there because of, I think it was the bit where the assassins show up in Half-Life. That had an effect on my evening. But yeah, so I was a real PC gamer as a kid, really, and then just kind of got my first Xbox from a Saturday job, and then kind of slowly got into console stuff. But really, I was PC, so first-person shooters, stealth games, RPGs, that kind of thing.
Okay. Now, there's the indie community is growing, and there's a lot of people I met online, and I've played a lot of good games, and a lot of them are overlooked. What is your favorite indie game other than your own work that you enjoy, or do you admire any other indie developers out there?
There's so many indie games. I guess the one that really, for me, I still play every day is Threes.
Oh yeah, that's a nice one.
I'm stuck on a train, I'll play that. Amazing. Such a good game. But in terms of creative, I guess to me the best people currently working. I'm a big Terry Kavanagh fan who made VVVVVVV and Super Hexagon, that stuff. Sophie Holden I love. Who else do I really like? Tom Francis, who did Gunpoint. Is great. So I think there's loads of really interesting things, and the great thing about indie is just immediately anyone you're out of awesome comes along and just blows you away with something new. It's such.
Wow.
Okay.
Merging and out of nowhere with these really interesting projects. So yeah, that's what I like about it. Is I like just kind of sitting back and watching new stuff come out every couple of. He's making massive games. You hear about it a few months in advance, and then slow hype build and then release, and that's great. But it's kind of exciting just to switch on your computer one morning and find something really weird and new. Oh,
hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm having. I don't know if it's freezing out, it's lagging out, but I don't know if it's just affecting me or us all.
You've gone. Oh. I'm having some connection problems, so I'm.
Okay. All right, E-Rock, how's everything? How do you hear everything?
I can hear you, but if he's having connection problems, that might be why it's timing out.
Okay.
I can hear
Do you,
most of what he's saying.
you can hear what he's saying? Okay. All right. Let's see. Uh,
Hello.
yeah, we
There you
get.
go.
You hear me?
That's
Sorry,
me.
sorry.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, everybody.
No, I think it's totally on my end. I think I'm doing a bunch of like uploading and downloading code to the team, so I think it's just I've stopped everything. So it'll be fine now. It'll be fine. My internet connection kind of had a bit of an accident, but yeah, sorry about
All right, and um, E-Rock, you had Oh no, that's me. I'm sorry.
It's you. Yeah.
Okay. So I was talking about Thomas Was Alone earlier, and like I said, this game, like, man, if I can make a freaking game to be good, I mean, I want to follow the steps of how, like, you come about with Thomas Was Alone. What inspired a game like this? What inspired you to make Thomas Was Alone?
that. For me, it was really jealousy. I was I was so I was working in a big studio doing kind of level design stuff. So just kind of basically placing crates and exploding barrels and that kind of stuff, like low level stuff. And then I heard about kind of indie games, and I started playing some of them. And I remember World of Goo and Braid and that kind of generation of indie games. I was playing those and hearing about like they were made by one or two people or whatever. And I was just really impressed by that, and kind of it seemed more interesting to me. It seemed like a good way of kind of getting out of being, the dude placing the crates and actually get to make some decisions and decide what games are. And there was something very exciting about that. So basically, yeah, Thomas Was Alone I got myself a copy of Unity, made a folder called Teaching Myself Unity, and just started playing and fiddling and making kind of prototyping, a little platformer, and then thinking about having multiple characters with different abilities and how those would interact with each other. And just slowly over about 2 years of kind of evenings and weekends, kind of basically whenever my girlfriend was out of town, I would sit down and just kind of work for a few hours on this game. And then kind of eventually realized, oh, this is actually like, this might be good. I should get like a composer to write the music, and I should get a voice actor to speak a bit while you play and stuff. And it just kind of built from there. But really, it was just about sitting down and trying to make a game and seeing what happened.
Wow, speaking of music, man, you had the right ear for music. Like, Thomas Was Alone is probably the best soundtrack. Like, I don't know if it was just the best soundtrack or it was just the perfect tone for the game. And I was like, oh my god. I was like, he might win an Emmy.
Well, to be fair, like with the music in Thomas Was Alone and Volume as well, it's the same guy. It's really about the composer. There's a guy called David Howson who I'm working with who's brilliant.
Yes.
I'm rubbish. I have no musical skill whatsoever. But what I do have is him. And I just stay out of his way, basically. Like, I tell him kind of what I'm thinking and, put together. I tend to do him a mixtape, actually, just doing like a playlist of just, like, this is a bunch of music that sort of sounds how I want the game to sound. Mm-hmm. I give that to him, and then he just throws that out the window and does whatever the hell he wants anyway. But it's much better than what I asked for. So he's great, and he has my complete trust. Like, he does really interesting work, and he does better work the less I interfere. So basically Volume, literally just, dude, I need this many tracks, this many minutes of music. Here's some concept art. Here's the script. Have a go, and he's doing amazing work.
Man, he's amazing. Like, oh my god, that is
so young as well. He's like 20. I think he's about 24. So he's really young as well, which is disgusting to me.
Oh my. Oh my. If he's not a millionaire now, he will be in a few.
He's a prodigy, man. He's a prodigy. I'm just lucky that he wants to work with me for a bit,
Yeah, man, that's great.
I know the feeling. Yeah, Mike, this is E-Rock. It's to finally speak to you. I've been looking forward to this interview for weeks now. And I forgot to ask, except for the mic difficulties, how are you today?
How am I today? I'm all right. I'm all right, man. We're in big kind of crunch bug fixing mode. So I've been just kind of, I've got DVD box sets playing, and I'm just typing and fixing stuff and finding problems. It's not the sexiest part of game dev. It's just the kind of, we need this game to come out, and we have a lot of complications with the game because it is kind of, it's a lot of server content and stuff, and even the big boys have trouble with their servers, so we're trying to get as good and solid a game out as we can. So
Right.
it's fun, but it's we'll get there. We'll get there, and then the game comes out, which is the most exciting bit, and we get to see how people respond to it. But yeah, at the moment, we're just kind of, me and the other coders are just sat at our computers typing away, trying to get that bug list to be smaller.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And when you look at Thomas Was Alone, this game is beautiful. It's
Thanks, man.
minimalist. It's striking. I mean, it kind of belongs in a museum. Like, what was the thought process for you, gameplay wise and artistically, when you designed this game? Because it's very stark. It's different. It just looks different. What was the thought process?
So in terms of the look of it, it was honestly like, and I think this is true of a lot of kind of design stuff that's in terms of car design, architecture, whatever. It's limited by the realities of production. So basically, with Thomas Was Alone, I had no money, I had no team beyond a composer, and I wasn't an artist in terms of I couldn't make cool art. What I could do, because I'd worked in it for a few years, was graphic design. So I could take some colors and put some, layout together that looked pretty decent and do this kind of thing. So Thomas Was Alone was basically me going, okay, so these are the skills I have. What can I make? And honestly, like, the best I could do was make some rectangles look pretty good. And that just kind of, once you go, okay, so I'm making a game about rectangles, then you go, okay, so what do I do to make that not look shit? And that's, animation, color balance, composition, layout, a lot of different aesthetic choices, which are basically pretty straightforward, but kind of you're layering on polish on top of that. So in terms of the art style, really, it was the best we could do with the tools we had. In terms of like game design and stuff, really, the only kind of thing I think that Thomas Was Alone does that's in any way kind of particularly impressive is that the story and the mechanics link up. So you have characters who, the character who can float in water thinks she's a superhero because no one else can. And stuff like that is honestly just writing. It's just sitting down and going, well, this is the ability the player has with this character, so what's this character feel like? Within the rules of this world, what would that character feel like? How would other characters feel about that character? And just kind of extrapolating out. And it's something that with indie games, because I'm the decision maker and I don't have to, there's not a boardroom of people who have to decide on everything.
Right.
If I go, this makes sense, it goes in, and it means that you get a much more consistency. With, like, if you're a writer, I've got friends who are writers on like AAA stuff, and they will write a script for I don't know, a 10-hour first-person shooter or whatever, and then like level 5 they decide to remove from the game because they run out of time or it's not fun or whatever. So they get rid of that, and then suddenly that beautiful script that they've written is now missing a massive chunk. That's why so many AAA games, the story kind of feels like there's holes or gaps, usually because there is. Indie, we're really lucky.
Yeah.
We avoid that by being the person doing all the jobs.
Gotcha.
Amazing. I mean, I never saw it from that perspective. You guys, you mentioned the Unity engine earlier in the conversation. How's it been for you using and learning that engine?
It's been pretty cool. It's a solid engine. It's not the easiest one. If anyone watching this is kind of thinking, I want to make games, this idiot can do it, I'll have a go. Unity's not necessarily the best one to start with because it is, it's 3D, it's quite complex, it requires more traditional programming skills. Because I'd worked in games for a few years before I started Thomas Was Alone, I kind of had some of those skills, so I had an easier time getting into it than I think kind of someone coming to it cold would be. But it's great. What's brilliant about Unity is you can make something small and then use those skills to make bigger things. And something like what I'm doing now is like 20 people making a game, but we're all using basically the same tools I was using on Thomas Was Alone. We're just scaling up. Unity allows you to do that. But if you're someone watching this who's maybe never made a game before, there are better tools to try and kind of get into it. So things like Game Maker is great for making little 2D experiences. Twine lets you do kind of, or what we used to call text adventure games, basically choose your own adventure, kind of tell a story and choose options and carry some variables around and stuff, and do really cool kind of interactive storytelling. And you know, Twine, there's no code whatsoever. Game Maker, there can be if you want there to be, but actually there's a lot of drag and drop stuff, so it's a bit easier to get into. Beyond that, things like Minecraft let you make experiences, or Little Big Planet, you know. So really,
Right.
if you want to make games, there's a lot of great ways to get into it. Unity's a pretty tricky one to start with, but it's totally possible.
Wow.
Okay.
Sorry, I
And,
get that question a lot, so I've got like a I do the whole list. I apologize.
No, so man, speaking of like we were talking about the composer for the music of Thomas Was Alone, and I don't know, is it you just have a thing with getting and reaching out to people, but how'd you manage to get Danny Wallace for Thomas Was Alone, and then now we hear that you're getting Andy Serkis for Volume?
Yeah, he's Andy Serkis, the bad guy. Yeah, well, to be honest, what it is, honestly, and this isn't a very sexy either kind of way of talking about something, but basically, you ask 100 people for something ridiculous that you'll never get, and then 2 of them say yes. To the outside world, it looks like you're incredible. And that's it, really. Like, that's it, basically, is every day, I would say, yeah, every day, I'll send an email to someone I have no right to email, kind of an outlandish, like, can I have this? And I hit a brick wall most days. But about 3 or 4 times a year, someone says yes to something. And Andy Serkis is one of those. Danny Wallace was one of those. People assume that, I woke up one day and I was like, I'll get Andy Serkis in my game, and I sent him an email, and then he was in my game. That's not quite how it works. There's months of work to kind of, do this stuff. And you just have to be prepared to hit into some brick walls, Anyone who's ever built anything, you will have setbacks. You'll have a million failed opportunities, but you've got to try, and you keep trying, and that's how I do it.
Yes.
I mean, wow, that's pretty good. Like, you know what I mean? Because when I was doing this podcast, I didn't think, I was like, oh, I'll have like people that develop games to join, even though that would be something I would be interested in. So I go on Twitter, I'm like, oh, he did that game. Let me try to contact him. Maybe he'll get back to me. Okay. So yeah, okay. So it's not that. I figured, I was like, I wonder how he did it. I wonder, he just asked everyone and then somebody said yes, or did he have to go
that? It's totally that. And you'll have the same thing. So when you're doing your podcasts, I bet you email people and you don't hear back from them, or they're busy. And, it doesn't mean you stop asking people. You just keep going, and I can't say yes to everyone who asks me for something, but if I've got a spare hour or so, I'll give it a go. It really is just about perseverance and just going, I'm going to ask 100 people for a stupid thing, and maybe 2 of them will say yes. And just be prepared to do that. And I'm the same with press. I send out the average kind of thing, like I want to announce like a new trailer or whatever. I'll email to like 200 journalists. And then if like 20 of them write about it, I still failed. Like 90% of my work failed. But it doesn't matter because, this major thing happened as a result, and it's just, you just got to put yourself out there with it and just accept that everyone fails on a daily rate.
There you go.
Yeah, so, and then we know Thomas Was Alone's very successful game. I know, E-Rock, your question is in regards to Thomas Was Alone's success.
Oh, yeah. I've been looking at reviews, and Thomas Was Alone has gotten 8s, 9s, and it's highly acclaimed. Mike, were you ready at all for the overwhelmingly positive response that game has gotten? Were you ready for that?
Oh God, no! I'd be an arsehole if I was. Like, there's, like, I think anyone who basically goes like, I am guaranteed success by this project is a fool, basically, because games, like, you can be, in anything, in music, film, TV, games, whatever, you can be the best there is and still produce something awful. Like, no band in history has released hit after hit after hit. Everyone fails. even if you're the best in the world. And I'm definitely not. But with Thomas Was Alone, it was a hobby game. I daydreamed like, oh, maybe it'll make me enough that I can quit my day job. But to be honest, like that was never an expectation. I know that when me and my girlfriend used to talk about it and the money it was going to make, the kind of the 3 levels of success I thought it could possibly have was I'd be able to buy an iPad. That was the first one. It was like either I'm going to get an iPad or a holiday was the next one up. And then the most wild dream I had was that maybe I'd get like a year's salary and I could go and try and make something else.
Nice.
And it far exceeded all of those goals. I now have an iPad and I've been on holiday.
Nice.
but yeah, no, it's you don't expect it. And to be honest, it's statistically unlikely. Like when Thomas Was Alone came out, I bet there were a bunch of indie games released exactly the same week that didn't, take off in that way. And it's not because my game was better than them necessarily. It's a bunch of different factors. I just got lucky. I can trace back the success of Thomas Was Alone to about 3 people in terms of big YouTubers or big games websites or an indie who tweeted about it or whatever. Like, I can see the reason why that game was successful, and a lot of those reasons have nothing to do with me, which is scary. Especially when you're trying to bring out your new game. But we'll see,
Hey, but success is what it is. Pat yourself on the back and enjoy that iPad, man. Pat yourself on the back.
I enjoy it. Do you know what? You know what's brilliant? I've already bought another iPad since then. That's the level of success. Because the iPad I bought 2 years ago, it's not so good anymore. I need a bit more space, so I've upgraded.
That's fantastic.
So speaking of your next game, Volume, explain to those who haven't heard of it or gotten to see any announcement trailers on it. Please explain what Volume is to us.
So the idea with Volume's a stealth game. So it's kind of old school. Kind of if you were into kind of Metal Gear Solid or Tenchu or kind of old Thief or whatever, that kind of old school, very mechanical stealth game. But the 2 things we do that I think are interesting is, one, we remove killing. And that's not a big statement about the evils of murder or whatever. It's basically just every stealth game I've ever played, I end the game with a bag full of gadgets that I never used because I could just down people's necks. So you never bother with it, right? Because you found the winning kind of route through the level. So we remove that, so you actually have to use the gadgets and the weird stuff, and the game becomes about that. So that's one thing. The second thing I think which is interesting is the entire game is user editable. So you can make your own levels, you can share them. It's entirely possible. If the game takes off and people make cool content, a few months after release, someone starting the game could play through and experience the whole story, the whole game, without ever touching a level we built, because they can just play community stuff.
Oh, wow.
Which is awesome. So and it's hopefully a really cool kind of creation kit that you can basically make your own levels, and just kind of make your own challenges and cool things. And I'm really hoping it's a Lego set for stealth games, basically, that you can kind of make your own versions of things and do cool stuff. So I'm excited because all of our play tests, it seems people really get into the editor very quickly and are making stuff and sharing stuff and uploading it to our servers and all that kind of thing.
So it's like Metal Gear Solid, like PlayStation 1 version meets Halo Forge mode.
That's one way of putting it. People throw different things in it, so it's always there's a lot of Metal Gear in there for sure. Some people compare it to Minecraft, which I think is a bit silly. It's kind of a cheap Minecraft, but it is user generated content, so it's kind of people can make whatever they want and share it. And I want people to emerge. I want 2 or 3. It'd be awesome if there becomes someone who is known in the community of Volume as the guy or girl who makes amazing stealth levels that just absolutely blow everyone away, and people are waiting for their updates. I've got to play that new map from so and so. That's what I want. I want there to be I want to find some awesome designers through this. I want there to be some really, really cool levels and communities, because that's what I loved when I was a kid, like scrolling through like Half-Life mods and stuff and finding Counter-Strike maps and whatever. That was cool, and I don't see that as much anymore, and I kind of like the idea of doing that.
All right, so and so you kind of you're looking to build pretty much a community behind this game.
Fingers crossed, man. If it's good, we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure, like, hey, man, there's, after the success of Thomas Alone, like, hey, the following people looking at your work, and I've been hearing word about this game that people that are looking forward to this game. Now, my question about Volume. Now, Volume has been announced for the PS4 and Vita, correct, along with the PC?
Yep, and Mac as well, yeah. So 4 places so far.
Okay. Now, is there any chance, I don't know if you can answer this or not, is there any possibility or on the horizon that this game finds its way on an Xbox One?
Never say never, man. Never say never. I like my Xbox One. I like my Xbox One. No, I don't know is the honest answer. But there's no reason down the line it might not. We'll see. We'll see, really. But the Xbox One is a lovely machine. So.
Either way, man, I'm looking forward to this game. Like I said, either way, I'm looking forward to this game. If I have to go out and get my PS4 sooner, I'll go get it if I know Volume's coming for it. So
if you do go out to buy a PS4 for Volume, if you could just tweet that to every major Sony executive, that'd be really helpful for me.
Oh, I will. Not
I need them to. Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. But it's we'll see.
Excellent.
We'll see.
Excellent. All right. You guys still there?
Yep.
It's like you're cutting out. Can you hear me, Kids Move?
I can hear you. I can hear you fine.
Okay. Mike?
Yeah, I can hear you.
There?
Yeah.
Okay. Mike, one of our colleagues, Miss Bella Rise from Playback Gaming, she had a question. And her question was, you've accomplished a lot. What is the one thing that you want to do with the game that you haven't done already?
Oh, there's so many, man. There's so many. I kind of, well, for me, it's always about the games. It's all about kind of being able to make all the ideas I have. And I think most people who make games, I think probably a lot of gamers, I have a few games in my head that I want to make, and kind of, oh man, if I ever get the chance. And Thomas Was Alone was first, those volumes the next, and I've got 3 or 4 other ideas in the back of my head, and some of them require me in my living room, and some of them require massive mega staffs. So we'll see, man. I would like to be able to make all the games I want to make. Some of them require quite a bit of money. So we'll see. We'll see if the games make enough to pay for them. But yeah, for me, it's about just continuing to be allowed to make video games, because ultimately, I want to make games, and basically the people who get to decide whether I get to keep making games are the people who buy my games, or don't. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's right.
But we'll find out. I want to keep making stuff. So really, in terms of what I want to achieve next, I think it is just keeping making stuff. Honestly, most of the dreams I had about being an indie game dev, I've achieved. Like in terms of going out on stage. I went out on stage at the Sony press conference and showed some stuff. That was something that I always thought would be cool to go on stage at a big event and do something. I've shown my game at events. I've gotten my game covered on every game's website I wanted to get covered on. So ultimately, most of those kind of really simple, kind of egotistical things have been achieved now. I just want to keep making stuff. Yeah.
Awesome. And to follow up on that question, Mike.
Sure.
Excuse me. Sorry. Hold on. I'm going out now. The indie market has been growing fast, really fast. Where do you see the independent game market in the next 2 to 3 years?
I think what's for me, I think it's becoming the market. That's my take on indie, is in terms of, if you look at AAA exists and will always exist and is awesome, and I play pretty much every AAA game that comes out. That's my bread and butter in terms of what I'm actually playing to relax. That will always exist, but in fairness, it's becoming a very small number of games coming out each year that way. And what is happening elsewhere is the indie kind of side of things. We're still getting the cool little weird esoteric arty awesome games coming out, but actually the people who've made maybe a couple of hits are starting to raise their budgets and kind of fill in that middle ground. So for me,
Yeah.
I think the word's going to become less and less useful, because I think the second you're using indie to describe, I don't know, something like No Man's Sky on the one hand, which is massive, compared to kind of a cool weird Twine game. For me, those two games don't. There's not enough shared stuff about how those games are made that you can really call them the same thing. So for me, I think what we're going to see is independent game development become so broad that ultimately the word becomes less useful. And I think we're going to get new words for art games, or independent middle scale games, and all these different things will kind of emerge and pop out and diversify, which is great.
You actually finished a conversation we had last week about how these games have gotten better and better and better and better and better, and you guys are becoming rock stars now. So you
slightly chubby rock stars, slightly kind of rock stars who kind of stay home a lot, and don't drink so much. Yeah, less cool rock stars. Yeah.
So, Mike, you were talking about that you were like with the studio before Thomas was alone. Now, was that Blitz?
So I was at Blitz, which we made a bunch of kind of to be honest, like licensed games, like Nickelodeon stuff. So I worked on a bunch of Nickelodeon stuff and third-person shooter and stuff, but mostly kind of licensed things. And then I started Thomas Was Alone there. Then I moved to a company called Boston Studios for a couple of years in London. Basically, they hired me, and at the interview, basically said, like, the reason we're hiring you is because we like Thomas Was Alone and we think that's a cool game. We want you to keep making that in your spare time, and we think that game's going to be a hit, so in about 2 years you're going to leave, but we reckon we can get enough value out of you in the time you'll be here. So that was a cool job, because basically they knew what was going on, they knew what I was doing, and they were very supportive, which was fantastic. But yeah, so Blitz was the one, like, when I started, yeah.
Okay, were you at Blitz during like the Burger King era?
I came in just after the Burger King era. I know a bunch of guys who worked on the Burger King games. I came in just after, because they did. It was that creepy, sneaky one.
Yeah, Sneak King.
That's the one. And yeah, no, that was just before I started. That was kind of one of the games they just released when I started, and it was weird, man. I was looking at that stuff and going, "This is the kind of company I want to work at," kind of thing. But yeah, that was a weirdly successful game, though. That went down really well.
It was. I bought all of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice. So I came in just after that, so I didn't work on any of those games, but I worked with a lot of the people and the teams who had done those games.
Okay, and this generation, you know what I mean, and some can say it's a disappointed. I mean, I have my mixed feelings on it. This is so far has been a generation of remakes and remasters. Mm-hmm. It can be good and it can be bad, because sometimes they're not actually fully remastered. It's just like re-released in high definition. Now, on a good note, name one game you like to see remade or reimagined this time around.
A remake or reimagining? I would love to see. Oh, what would I love to see? I'd love to see Shadow of the Colossus, but done.
Yes.
I know they did a PS3 one, but I would love to see PS4 Shadow of the Colossus. Massive resolution, beautiful redone artwork, all of that. I'd love to play that again. Other than that, like going further back, Deus Ex, I would kill for to be able.
Okay.
Like that would be expensive. Like, but if they could go back, if they could go back and basically make Deus Ex again in the kind of maybe in the Human Revolution engine, but maybe even something even better looking. Mm-hmm. I'd love to play through that campaign again. Other than that, like they remade Metal Gear Solid, which was one of my favorite games, into Twin Snakes, which was just ridiculous. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. It was like the theme park ride version of Metal Gear Solid. But yeah, so really, I guess I'm a fan of those. I enjoy replaying games. And often you go back to games, and they've not aged well. You know, like you go back to games that you adored as a kid, and you're like, this is like, if this was an indie game now, I would be kind of wondering why they bothered, you know, kind of thing. Like it's just very low quality, handles badly, whatever. So I think when done well, they can be brilliant. Yeah.
Okay, so Shadow of Colossus and DSX, definitely being two of the games you would definitely want to see redone if possible.
Yeah, I'd buy them in a heartbeat if they bring them out. Yeah.
Yeah, Shadow of Colossus. Yeah, it was something I missed out on during that time. And yeah, I definitely probably say I would like to see that game remade, because for its time, it was an amazing game. You know,
it was, and it was just beautiful, and the music was incredible, and the scale of it. I mean, even now you look back at that, and it was impressive at the time. It's even more so now. But I think if you brought that and did even more with it, that could be really interesting.
Yeah, man. So now you look like you're happy with your day job. You're happy with what you're doing. You know, I don't know. I mean, I would love to make games, but honestly, there's some things that goes into it that I'm not good at. So I'll just stick to talking about them. So now, what is the most satisfying part of your job?
Like nowadays, honestly, the best part is the team. Is when I open up my email and I've gotten something from a team member that just blows me away. Because I work with a bunch of people. Like you said, I'm not good at every job. You know, there's definitely lots of stuff I hand off. So for me, yeah, I like that. I like getting cool stuff for my game that someone else did, because it's exciting. I don't have to work for it, and I get to kind of experience it for the first time. So things like getting cutscenes kind of sent to me by people, by my animation team. Having one that I love is I have a bunch of level designers who are making kind of the core campaign for Volume. And so when they send me a chunk of levels, that for me is like, I just get to sit and play Volume for a couple of hours, you know, and they're new levels to me. I've not seen them before. And I'm going through with a notepad, you know, making notes, asking for tweaks, stuff like that. But ultimately, I'm just playing a game. And that's so exciting to just kind of to play the game as a player will for the first time is really cool. So yeah, for me, it's all the stuff that comes in. Like the day-to-day of my job is just kind of bringing everything together. But seeing individuals create amazing work and go beyond what I've asked them for is always exciting.
Wow,
that's nice. Wow. And now you know the next question is, what's the most dissatisfying?
They're like probably where I'm at now, which is bug fixing. So to give you an idea, the last 4 hours, I've been trying to make it so that a light bulb stays the same color in the game. That's been the last 4 hours.
And so is it not like a copy and paste method or not?
You'd think, wouldn't you? You'd think it would be, but that was a mixture of bad labeling and dodgy enums and a bunch of things that boring. But basically, 4 hours of my life just trying to get that one thing not to break. And that's hard. Like that kind of process in bug fixing in general, just finding all these problems. Like we find bugs in games and we laugh, like people falling through the floor and stuff, and it's cool. But if you're the guy whose job it is to make sure you can't fall through the floor, and it's like just hitting your head against that wall trying to fix it. That said, the best feeling during that kind of period is when you fix it. So once that light bulb stayed the same color, I was just like, yeah, like.
Yeah,
that's the best feeling ever because you made that light bulb work. And then you think,
accomplishment.
You're like, I spent 4 hours doing that. I need to eat something. But like, yeah. So that's fun. So that's the tricky stuff. Is just the really hitting your head against a wall, trying to get the game working. And it's a part of the process we don't really talk about because who wants to listen to someone moan about that, right?
Yeah.
Hey, Mike. I'm getting a bunch of tweets and calls now from a bunch of janitors and bus drivers who want to trade places with you. So
Exactly. No, I hear you, man. I was a barman for 3 years. Like, so anytime I feel myself like getting, grumpy about the work or whatever, I'm just like, hey, no one punched me in the face today. This is great.
you are
I
a
worked
rock
I worked
star.
bar in a slightly dodgy area, and there's still the bar one of the bars I used to work in. There is still a dent above the door frame,
Wow.
where some guy one night I don't know what he'd been drinking. Well, I know what he'd been drinking. I've been serving that, but I think he'd been partaking of other things as well. And he thought I was, I think he thought I was threatening his wife, who wasn't there. I don't know where this came from, but he grabbed me, big guy, grabbed me, turned me sideways. I'm 6'4", like this was an impressive feat. Grabbed me, turned me sideways, and just threw me above the door frame of
Wow.
this bar. Just grabbed me across the bar and pulled me, and yeah, that was fun. So I look at that and I'm like, okay, so fixing bugs for 4 hours, sat in my nice warm flat, drinking Coke, that's okay. I can do that.
Yeah, I trade places with you.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't miss that. I don't miss that. That's how I put myself through uni, was working bars. So yeah, never that. But it's weird though. I still to this day, like if I'm having a bad day or I think like, oh, I'm not sure this game's going to be good or it's not going to work, I still find myself having a thought process. I can always work bar if I need to. That's the thought process. Is like I can still be a barman if I need to go back to being a barman. I can be a barman, So it's still there. It's a skill. I can make a drink,
Now, we were talking about this earlier, being able to make the decisions and delegate what you want to do. You're not working for anybody, but so when it's time, like when you're all set with you're done with Thomas Was Alone and you're finishing up volume. Now, how does the process goes how do you come up saying, okay, I'm going to make this game next?
So there's a lot of factors, right? There's a lot of things that have an effect. So I mean, we're nearly there with this process because volume it's coming to an end now. So really, we are kind of thinking about that and thinking about the next games. Me and kind of the 2 or 3 people who are kind of probably definitely going to be working on the next thing, like that kind of core team.
Yes.
And really, it's just a bunch of stuff. So one is money. Like, do we have any? And kind of like that. Honestly, we're going to have to wait till volume comes out and see how it does. Like those first few weeks. We're going to be able to look at those numbers and go, okay, so chances are it'll do this over its lifetime, and we can kind of plan for it. So that has a massive effect because obviously that changes the kinds of games you can make based on how much money you have in the bank.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's to do with what's popular right now, or if a game exists that already does something. If I sit down and I'm let's say, I've been making volume for 2 years now. Let's say that my plan all along for the next game was to make a zombie survival game, and it was.
Wow.
Well, no, it wasn't. But let's say it was. I would be looking at games now, and I'd be like, "There's a lot of zombie survival games. Like,
True.
I should probably not do that. There's enough of those. I'll save that, and that goes to 5 years time or whatever when everyone's bored of them." So there's that as well. Looking at the market, looking at what people are playing, and going, either there's nothing like this, and maybe this has got a chance, or thinking, well, I can do better than that other game, so I'll give that a go, kind of thing. And then there's other stuff like different people I want to work with. The team defines it. If I'm, for example, right now I have a really good team who's very good at making kind of 3D games. So if I wanted to make, say, a pixel art game, that would mean effectively firing a bunch of people, which I don't really want to do. So that has an effect, and it's a lot of different factors that play in. I know for now we've got maybe 2 or 3 different games that we're thinking about doing next, and really it's just going to come down to how well volume does. If it makes crazy money, or if it makes some money, or if it makes no money, and just making the stuff that kind of works with that.
Okay. Now, I'm going to the comment section of the people that are watching. One guy asks, what is your thoughts on No Man's Sky, and would you like to build something like it?
I think it looks. I mean, it looks cool, right? I know the guys. I know some of the guys there because, we're British and it's a very small country. But so yeah, I think that looks really cool. I think it's really ambitious and exciting, and I can't wait to see what it is. And you know, I've not actually played it yet. I keep meaning to kind of try and sneak into their office and have a go, but I've not tried it yet. I guess I will at some point, at like an event or something, but whatever. So I'm excited. In terms of would I want to do it, I'm not sure it's my kind of thing, to be honest. I think it's it really, like, I know the guys there. That's the kind of game that I think they're very good at making, and the kind of game they've always wanted to make. For me, I'm more like define smaller things. Like I want to tell a 5-hour story, or I want to create a really specific place. Like right now, my interest isn't in making kind of big procedural kind of explore the galaxy style games. And to be honest, frankly, they're making that game, you know, and they're going to make a better version of that game than I could. So let's let them make that, and I'll play it like everyone else, and then I'll make something completely different, and maybe some people play that as well. So for me, I'm a big believer that, you know, I think they're the best people to be doing it. So really, it's not the kind of thing I think I'd make. And why should I now? Because they've made the best version, hopefully, that anyone will for a little while.
All right. And another, you know, one game I would like to see somebody make. I don't know if it's been done before. I mean, you can say Alien Isolation, but then again, not. I want to see a survival horror game where you're like, you have to. No, I don't know if it's a serial killer, like you're running from somebody like Michael Myers or something like that, and then throughout the whole game, but it's not as, like, I didn't care for Alien Isolation like that, but a survival horror game I don't think has actually been done to like how we get in movies. You know, you got your main character and you got the killer. At the end of the day, the killer's going to eventually die, or something happens where the story has to end. Like, what do you think of something like that?
That sounds cool, man. That sounds cool, like a slasher movie victim sim, right?
Yeah,
like,
yes.
That'd be cool. I mean, you obviously, because it's a slasher movie, you have to have the sex at the start, where you have sex, and therefore
that's what get it started.
Because that's how slasher movies work. You can't get killed by a slasher unless you've done something ethically, morally, whatever. Yeah, no, I think it's cool. I think actually Alien Isolation probably points to some of the ways you could do that, because that's very focused on kind of, you have other characters, but like one specific kind of villain.
Yeah.
I think it'd be really interesting. It's not probably the kind of thing I'd make, because I'm not really a big horror player. I don't play many horror games, so I think I'd probably make a crap one. But yeah, I think that could be quite fun. I'm surprised no one's done that. I feel like make that, do that, make that, install Unity tonight.
Yeah.
And get started, man.
Yeah, you have to write me up a tutorial.
There's loads out there, man. I'm sure you could find a tutorial on how to make a survival game.
You would have to make the mechanics like really clumsy, because people have to trip and fall every 5 minutes.
Sounds like a fun game, man. Sounds like a fun. I love that in games. No, I don't love that. You have to work out a better way of doing it than other people. But yeah, it's a cool concept. Give it a go.
Now, I know we were having microphone troubles earlier, and I think one of the earlier questions I was asking if you, what is like your favorite indie game? And that was a question I missed. I know you answered it, but I know I couldn't hear it, so I just wanted to get back to that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the one I think the one I've played kind of the most of in the last year is Threes, which is a great mobile game.
Okay, yeah, it was Threes. Okay.
Which I love. That's super indie. Other than that, honestly, there's just a lot of very cool creators that I follow. So people like Terry Kavanagh, Sophie Holden, Tom Francis, a bunch of different people who make really weird, odd, interesting, cool stuff that I'm a massive fanboy of. But yeah, it's an exciting time, man. And as I said earlier, I think the most cool thing about it is that there's always something new. Is that, you know, every week, every 2 weeks, there's a cool indie game comes out that everyone's excited about, a new creator that we've never heard of before, and that's very cool. That's exciting to have that kind of speed of new stuff. It's yeah.
Okay, and my next question is pertaining to Volume. When is the next time we will likely see Volume before release?
Honestly, well, if you're not in the UK, but if anyone's watching this who's in the UK, it's an event called Rezzed, in London in March, where we'll have like four machines playing it, and come along, have a go, meet someone from the team as well. We'll have people from the team there hanging out, which is always a fun event. I like Res. In the States, I'm not going to be showing it kind of publicly, but I'm at GDC, and there'll be some press demos and stuff, so there might be some previews coming out of that on websites and stuff, and I'll be at PAX East as well. Not demoing the game, but kind of hanging out at PAX East, which should be fun too.
Dude, I'm trying to buy tickets to PAX. You think you can give my manager a call to give me the day off? Like, I mean, I want to go. I'm like an hour and a half away. It's like,
oh man, I've heard that's tricky. I've heard that's tricky.
Yeah.
I think I've got actually, you've made me worry. I hope I've got tickets. I need to double check that. I think I do. I'm on a panel, so I think I do.
Yeah, I missed they were sold out immediately, but you can buy them off like StubHub, but they're like double the rate, than you would get it from like the PAX website. So, and I was gonna bite the bullet, but then I couldn't get the day off. So I don't know, maybe next year or something, but or maybe I can, I don't know, cook something up.
Well, do they not have like press passes and stuff? If you're can you get like a press pass that like because you do all this and stuff? Is there a way of getting?
We are working on that, and actually, slowly, no, seriously, when we do these podcasts, and you developers have been so good at giving us your time, giving us your input, and letting us and our viewers behind the curtain, because this is huge for us. So each one of these interviews we do with someone like yourself who's in the industry, you're helping us out. So all I can do is just thank you very much for your time. I mean, you really, you let us behind the curtain on game development and what's coming up soon, and we can't thank you enough. We can't.
No worries at all.
Okay. No, I'm here. Oh my God. No, I was just looking at this question. He says, another question for Mike. With the PS4 being so indie friendly and great to develop for, should I get one because I love indies?
It sounds honestly like the subtext of that question is the guy wants to buy a PS4. Don't use me as your excuse. If you want a PS4, then you take the job.
Yeah.
Do it. Now, if you can afford it, like eat as well. That's important. Pay your rent. Make sure your rent's paid.
Yeah.
And then if all that's solved, then get a PS4. They're fun. I like my PS4.
And so you got both PS4 and Xbox, and you work on both PS4 and Xbox. Now, is this a question that you can answer? Which one you think, like, how has the process been developing games? Is there one you prefer, or do you find it easier to work with, or?
To be honest, at this stage, from a developer point of view, an Xbox One and a PS4 are kind of similar in terms of they're basically PCs. Back in the day, they had very different, like the different consoles. If you were making, say, an N64 and a PlayStation 1 game, forget about it. Like completely different machines.
Yeah.
But nowadays, honestly, like they're both PCs. So the architecture is similar and the way they work is similar, but crucially for people like me, the engines are getting so good at cross-platform development that I'm not really making a game for the Xbox or PS4. I'm making the game, and then the engine kind of handles a lot of that stuff. It's not all of it. It's not a magic button, and I work with external teams. So, for example, Thomas Was Alone on Xbox One was made by someone else. Was made by a studio called Curve Digital, who did the port for me. So it's not a button, but they're kind of similar. They're similar kind of platforms.
Okay. And now the other, do you have any plans on maybe working with like Nintendo's platform, any of their platforms?
So you can get Thomas Was Alone on Wii U.
Oh yeah, okay.
That's out. I think. I hope so. We definitely made it. I think we announced it.
We made it. We know it's out there.
That might be an exclusive. I don't know if we've released that yet. I think we did. I'm worried now. As for volume, same answer as with Xbox. Like, who knows? We'll see. Obviously, it's exclusive to PlayStation at launch, but not forever. And maybe if it feels like it's a good fit for those places, and it feels like people want to play it on those platforms, then we'll see. But ultimately, I'm getting it on 4 platforms first, and then we'll work out the rest, and we'll see.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. So but I think that's all the questions I have here. And
Cool.
Mike, once again, thank you for joining us. It's been great having you. Like I said, I'm in love with Thomas Was Alone. If for those who haven't watched, please check out my review on Thomas Was Alone. I will put it in the link description below. I think I tweeted to you. I don't know if you got to see it. My review on
I think
Thomas
I
Was
watched
Alone.
it. I think I watched it.
Yeah. So I was trying to do my best to match the tone of the game. I was like, oh my god, it makes me want to cry. No, but
Oh,
it was
yeah.
amazing. And thank you for telling us more about Volume. I'm looking forward to the game, and when it comes out, I will be getting it, and it will be on my PlayStation 4. So I am sold on Volume. I like seeing people take the chances on games that our big budget guys aren't doing, and that's what I felt with Thomas Was Alone, and Volume looks to be like another amazing piece of work, and I can't wait for it to come out. You have anything to say before we let you on your way? Gotta fix some bugs, man.
Only that I well, yeah, I'm going back. Like the second I'm off this call, I'm gonna go and double check that light bulb's still not changed color. But yeah, no. Thank you for your time. It's always cool to talk to people about the stuff and the work and all that. And yeah, I hope Volume's good too. I don't know yet. We'll see.
All right. So you heard that, everybody. Volume is definitely coming to the PlayStation 4 first for the console thing. So you guys got a gem. But I always close with my favorite saying because I'm an Xbox guy. So I say Xbox is the best box, and I am the best bot. Thank you for watching the podcast, and Mike Bethell, thank you for joining us. Hope you have enjoyed the rest of your night. It is night there, right?
It's coming up at 7:30 p.m. So yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, guys. E-Rock, you got anything to say before we go?
Nope, we're all good.
We're out. Good night, everyone. Wait, good night or good morning if you're on the other side of the globe. We're out.